Welcome to Quilt Concert 2023, Twinkle Twinkle. This week is Block 9, Diamonds in the Sky. All right, you have had 8 full weeks so far of making paper-pieced blocks. So, do we really need to do a video tonight? I'm sure you got it. It's the simplest block in the whole quilt. Right? You don't need me anymore, right? Fine. I'll still make one. We will get ready to make this block together. There are going to be 10 of them, but we're only going to make one tonight. All right, stay tuned because here we go. I've collected all my supplies once again. We have my rotary cutter, my add-a-quarter ruler, my SewTite Lite magnet. I have a little pressing table because I press in the video, and my mini Oliso project iron that I use to do this pressing. And last but not least, the templates for this week's block. Block 9, Diamond in the Sky, is a very small block, just a few seams in it, but there's a lot of them. So it's not going to take you long to see this video and do one. But you have plate 1, which are all the same color. Plate 2, which again is all the same color, and there's only 3 more, so now we have 7. And then plate 3, you have 3 more, and each one of these is a separate color in that center piece. So grab your fabrics, and as always, because I just forgot to mention it, when you print these out, measure that 1-inch box to make sure you've printed true to size. 100% is what your printer will ask you for. So get your paper scissors, cut out one of these blocks, and we'll make it together. The first thing you might notice about this block as compared to my other ones is that in this one, number 1 is in the center. And then we're going to work outwards on one side and then outwards on the other side. My previous blocks pretty much started with the first section being on one end and then working through to the other side of the block. No matter where the number starts, the number 1 starts, you want to do number 1 to section number 2. And you're going to start by folding along that line between them. So I have my add-a-quarter ruler right on that line, and the first step is to fold. Just like that. Now I'm going to take my fabric for section 1. And I'm just laying it on there, making sure that the fabric comes on the outside of those 4 lines. And it does pretty well. Like we mentioned in the past, we overestimated for beginners. If you are more confident in paper piecing, you can cut your blocks down. You know how to do it. But for a beginner paper piecer, we did overestimate the amount of fabric to help cut back on mistakes. As you start doing it, you start getting a real feel for how this all works. So first step was fold. Piece number 2, I'm going to go under there. My line for piece number 2 stops right there. It's this little section here. I know it's hard to see in the camera. I'm just looking to make sure. Yes, it is covered. Oh, I can probably slide it back up just a little bit. But it is covering that section right here. Okay, opening my paper back up carefully, and now we're going to take the SewTite Lite, slide that magnet underneath to hold it on the way to the machine. Pick that up here for you to see that we're going to stitch right above this line to right below the end of that line there. And I have both my pieces of fabric held tightly on. So fold, now stitch. Okay, I forgot to mention, make your stitch length shorter so it's easier to tear off the paper later on. So stitch, fold, stitch. Now it's time to cut. Fold, stitch, cut. By putting my 1/4" ruler there's a little ledge there, I'm putting it right against the paper. And then I'm walking around the corner here to get my rotary cutter because I moved it right when I started the video. We're being real tonight, right? And now we need to press, the last step. I'm a little nervous about this piece, so when I open it up, I'm just going to turn it around, and yes, it indeed covers all those sides. So that's pretty awesome. I get nervous now and then, and it's really hard to look through the camera to do this, so hopefully you're all seeing the correct stuff. So, give that a press. Now it's time for section 2 to section 3. So 1, 2, turn this over. And section 3 is this big triangle right here. So we're back to fold. Right there on that line. I stitched a little too far over that line, so that's why you see those threads there, but it'll be fine because I just pulled the paper back from them. It won't matter. Now this is the bigger piece. And I can see that there's fabric on all sides. So I'm going to open it back up carefully, grab my SewTite, and this line is going right from that corner straight down that line to right at that end. And you only want to take like 1 stitch beyond it and the smaller stitch length. All right, there's my beautiful stitch line, much better than this line, but it's okay, we all live. Time to cut. And now we are going to press. I do start with a little bit of a finger press sometimes. Depends on my mood. Tonight, it's late. It's like, oh, look at that, it's 10:30. So my mood is usually going to be loopy at this point. Hopefully I won't cut my finger off. I'm also being silly because I have an audience here in my studio tonight, and she's just waiting to laugh at me at something. She has twice already, so don't worry. She's not going to be disappointed. And 1, 2, 3, section 4. So now we're moving out to the other side. 1, 2, 3. Now we are going to do 1, 4, 5. Okay? So that line between 1 and 4 is where we're going to do our fold. And now put the smaller background piece up here because I can see my line for section 4 right there. I could probably move it further in just in case I'm off there. Let's see. Nah, there's plenty of room. Time for the SewTite. It is a Sew Lite. That was actually really easy to do with one hand. The regular SewTites are a little bit harder. You probably can't do it with one hand to separate them. And if you have the magnums, forget it. You need 2 hands and your teeth, I think, to pull those apart. So I'm going to sew along the line between section 1 and section 4. All right, there's my line. So the next step is to cut. So I just fold that right back there on that line, lay my 1/4" ruler right up against it, and cut. Ooh, got a little thread there. And now let's press. I am ironing tonight. I know you're going to call me out on that because I always say press is just this. And this is ironing. So remember to press and not iron. I'm making lots of fun mistakes tonight, but that's okay. People should see mistakes, right? Yes. Penny went to speak, but I told her not to talk while I'm recording. She's trying really hard not to laugh out loud at me too. We're having a good time. One of these days I'll be brave enough so you can see my face and we'll really start laughing at things. Okay, the last line to sew is between section 4 and 5, and actually technically 1 and 5. It's this big long line right here. So I actually had to stop and think. The first thing we do is fold on that line. Take your fabric, lay it on the fabric. Make sure you have fabric surrounding all your lines that you can see through the paper. Sew tight. You all can recite this in your sleep with me, right? Well, not that you're sleeping with me, but you can all recite this in your sleep now that we've done it so many times. Okay, our last line of stitching starts right there and goes to the bottom. All right, we are stitched. Boop, boop. We're going to cut that with the 1/4 inch ruler. I need my little pressing board to press it because we don't want to melt the mat. And now, the very strange looking block, because we haven't made the magic happen yet. Turn that block over, and you see the outside line. It's a 1/4 inch away from the inside line, which is going to be your stitching line when you sew this to the rest of the quilt. So you would like to line up your ruler on that outside line. Double check to make sure there's a 1/4 inch between those two lines. It's helpful to know that. And trim it away. No, I have not changed the blade on my ruler, even though every week that I've done this, which has been every other week technically, I've said since the beginning, I need to change the blade on my rotary cutter. But, you know, I don't listen to me. When all this paper piecing is done, I will be changing that blade. It is pretty gunky. We were cutting a bunch of steam-a-seam, which is a lot of tacky material to it, so there's a lot of gunk inside that blade. It really needs to be replaced. And, nope. See, told you I needed to replace this blade. 1, 2, 3, voila! Diamonds in the Sky, block 9 from Quilt Concert 2023, Twinkle, Twinkle. All done. Now, 1 is done. We talked about this earlier. There are actually 10 of these to do. So if you need to go through this, I know you love hearing my beautiful voice. It doesn't take too long, but there are 10 really beautiful little bitty blocks to make and put in the quilt. This is it, the last block. It's been exciting. I hope you've had fun making Twinkle Twinkle. You still have to put it all together, and those instructions will come out next week of how to put it together. And then we'll have our curtain call to see all the finished quilt tops, the flimsies. If you've quilted it, more power to you. I have to be honest, I still haven't quilted mine. So hopefully soon. All right. Thank you all. Bye.